Welcome back, everybody. How are we doing this morning? Hope everybody is doing well. Hope everybody's had a chance to have a sleep and calm down and let all their feelings kind of filter out a little bit. But we're going to rekindle all of that because Manchester United drew 2-2 against Lyon in the first leg of our Europa League quarterfinal tie. And I'm going to apologize now for the miserable little bitch I'm going to be on this stream. Normally, I'm not like this, but here at United versus Everybody, sometimes we just can't help ourselves. So I'm still annoyed, but this is why we waited today. Danny B, good to see you, man. Hope you are doing well. Let's try to just get this over with, shall we? Because we should have won that. We should have won that 2-0 at least, if not 2-1. Because again, like aside from the final ball again, which just not good enough from a couple of the attackers on our side, which we're going to talk about later. I mean, aside from that, we played just fine, I thought, considering we're on the road in Europe against a tough Lyon side who've got a lot of good attacking talent. Um, I think that we played just fine. I think a couple players didn't have as good of performance as they have in recent weeks, and then a couple of the same old suspects were just not doing their job. But it's just so frustrating to concede a late goal like that, and for the same reasons that we've conceded goals time and time again in recent years. In just this last couple months, like Justin and I were at that Brighton match, and it was the same freaking bullshit again. Crystal Palace, same thing again. Freaking Leicester, same thing again. Like it's just time and time again. Onana doing the same shit. So we're gonna talk about the result. We're gonna talk about the performance. And we're going to talk about how maybe we can all pool our money together to buy a certain goalkeeper a one-way ticket to the Saudi League because I'm so done with this guy. So hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Get involved in the poll. I've got that going on in the live chat. Check the memberships too if you want to learn how you can get more involved in the content we put out, whether that's questions from a boot, from this stanky old dude right here, scouting reports, or most recently the What If series, which the first kind of, I guess you can call it the first season. The final episode of that's going to drop sometime early next week, so keep an eye out for that. I have to break them up a little bit just to kind of spread them out, but I've had a lot of fun doing that. Hopefully you guys have had a lot of fun engaging with those and watching those. Let's get stuck in. We're going to start with some news. Going first, Danny says 14-year-old would have stopped it. Dude, my grandmother could have done out there and just stopped that. Like, it's embarrassing at this point, and we're going to talk about that. So, yeah, starting with a bit of transfer news. So this is coming from Fabrizio Romano. Now, he claims that a few clubs in Italy, and he specifically name drops Napoli and Juventus, are keeping an eye on Rasmus Højlund. There's been a lot of rumors recently. Højlund, is he not good enough? Obviously, he wasn't an amorim signing. I had high hopes when amorim came in, even because I see a lot of echoes of Victor Gyökeres in the way Højlund plays. It's just not translating, and we'll see. But supposedly, according to Romano, some of these Italian clubs are ready and waiting to make concrete offers if United make Højlund available this summer. Feelings about Højlund aside, whether you have been out all season or whatnot, he's literally the only striker we have at the club right now, unless you count Cheeto, and I guess you can count Xerxes, but Xerxes even himself has said he's not really a striker, and we've not really played him as a striker, but a couple times under Amorim. Højlund's position, again, is just another one in the squad where if we sell, we have no depth. But he's running out of time to show me something because he's just that chance he had yesterday was just that's unforgivable. Like you can't afford to do that, man. Now he doesn't get many chances, but that was just a gilded chance that he should have put away. And even after a stellar debut season from him last year, like I'm starting to cool on him a little bit. It's getting harder and harder to defend him because it's just those kind of moments. He's not really. It's just a matter of Højlund not taking the opportunities when they come is the problem. It's not a question of does he have it or not. Is that he's not doing it enough. And unfortunately, you do miss that window. That window will close after a certain amount of time. Danny is finished with Højlund so bad. Yeah, that chance yesterday was just an absolute fucking nightmare. Darko, big up, Darko. Good to see you, man. Hope you are doing well this morning or good afternoon or evening, wherever you happen to be. It's still morning for me. But Danny says, I try to defend him up until recently. I think that miss yesterday was just like, you know what? At this point, man, you got to help me help you. Help me help you, Hoyland. Like, I put my neck out for Hoyland. I've been freaking waving that flag all season. And again, I don't think that he's horrible. I don't think that he's not going to be good someday. Obviously, we can't predict the future, but again, it's just about the chances that you're taking. If you're not taking the chances that you get, we have to move on to somebody who can, because we don't get very many chances, and we can't afford to keep hoping that you're going to develop. He is young, but this is the same reason why I don't rely on Delap as a possibility for our striker, because he's just 21. He's having a decent season, but even the decent season that's causing so much hype for Delap is not as good as Hoyland's season was last year. And look at where everybody is with Hoyland now. So we need a proven goal scorer. Go get Jonathan David. Go get Victor Gyökeres. I don't care at this point. We need someone who, when they get that chance, 9 times out of 10, it's in the back of the net, and we don't have to sit here and have this conversation again. So moving on, kind of, but not really. So moving to Hoyland's former club, Atalanta, we got a little bit of a rumor update on a long time reported United target. So this is coming from Tutto Mercato Web and Sport Witness. They claim United are in, quote, pole position to sign Atalanta midfielder Ederson, and we're expected to make an offer for him in the coming weeks. I like Ederson. I like him a lot. I think he ticks a lot of boxes for us. And you guys know that I do love a lot of the young players. I do see a lot of potential in young guys, but we need a balance. Even the class of 92 had a balance of experience, leadership in the dressing room, on the pitch. We haven't had that as much in recent years. We've had like Maguire, Fernandez. Right now, you could argue we've got like guys like De Ligt, Mazraoui. But we need some more of that, and we can't have in that delicate area of the pitch where in Amorim's system the pivot demands so much from these two players. I wouldn't mind a little bit of experience. So for me, it's going to depend on price, though. There are a lot of options out there who aren't as expensive, who I think could do a very good job as well. Now, they don't have the experience, but we'll see. You guys let me know what you think about Ederson. Would he be someone you go for? Again, it's about price. You could get 2 players for the same price. You could literally go get Yashari and Hackney for roughly the same price as you're going to get for Ederson, like, for example. So, and you guys, I mean, I know a lot of fans don't care as much about price. It's just something you almost have to keep that in mind, because you know it's going to be a factor, because it has been a factor. I mean, we had to sell to buy in the summer. We wait until the last couple weeks of the windows more often than not to buy players, so we can avoid paying wages for the entire transfer window. I mean, we didn't get Dorgu until like the last weekend of the January window, for instance. So it's so annoying, but it is what it is. Danny says, if you watch Micah Biarritz at Monaco, could be a cheap option. Yeah, I saw people hyping him up last month. Again, though, Danny, it's another young striker who's having a good season. Same with Ekitike. Ekitike is having a good season, but again, look at the sample size of all his seasons, and it's like, I feel like with these young strikers, we're going to be right back in the same boat everybody is with Hoyland right now. And like, the striker's going to get hounded out, Ineos are going to get hounded out, Amorim's going to get hounded out. Like, just go get someone who's proven. Jonathan David is literally a free agent, has been banging in 20 some odd goals for the last like 6-7 seasons since he was at Genk in the Belgian league. The guy's been doing it, and he's doing it in the Champions League too. Like, it just is a no-brainer for me. So I don't have a problem, Danny, with the young strikers, but it's like, I need to see more than just one season. Because for every someone like Jonathan David, for instance, or like a Gyökeres or a Holland or whatever, there's a Andrea Bellotti who, again, can anyone tell me where Bellotti is right now after that one decent season he had? Luka Jovic, Andre Silva. I could go on and on. Timo Werner. We could go on. And so it is a dice roll with any transfer. Like, I totally get that. But at the same time, that's why I need to see more. I need to see more than just one bright season. Like, where's Evan Ferguson? Everybody was banging that drum 2 years ago. Like, this isn't me trying to insult the players. It's just pointing out the evidence that I believe supports my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. It's just how I feel, and this is why I feel this way. So it just is what it is, man. Danny says, fuck Ederson, Yashari is better, half the price. You guys know I do love some Arden Yashari. That dude is just so good. He is like, He's like a little bit of West Ham Declan Rice with a little bit of Arsenal Declan Rice with that added little silk of like prime Frankie de Jong or like prime João Neves and like the body coordination movement of like a prime Eden Hazard because he's shorter, he's got a lower center of gravity. He's just so good, man. I do like Hayden Hackney, but I can't. I was just doing this the other day. I was watching Middlesbrough play Leeds, which they lost, and for some reason, so Hackney's numbers are excellent, but for some reason, when I watch him, there's something that I'm just not seeing that I feel like I need to see, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is. I just don't know what it is. Maybe if someone else has watched Hackney and they kind of feel something like that, let me know what your thoughts are. But there's something that that's lacking when I watch Hackney, and I still don't know what it is. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. But Danny says he like across of Vitinha, and yeah, the Vitinha is like now Yashari. He does sit a little deeper in and around his own box a lot, especially when Club Brugge are defending. But he is also very rapid, very press resistant, good passing range, good ball progression, chance creation. Like he's got it all, and he's super, super cheap. So, and I love that we were linked to him. Hopefully, we get that done. So, but you guys, let me know what you think about Ederson. Let me move on to some more. So, regarding a position that we're going to be discussing ad nauseum later, this is coming from Graham Bailey. He claims that no club has watched 22-year-old keeper Zion Suzuki more in the last few months than Manchester United. He has reiterated our long-term interest in the kid after we wanted to bring him to the club not that long ago. I think it was between him and Bayindir 2 seasons ago, right? But if you remember, Suzuki did not want to be a backup keeper. So I think he's a Japanese international. I think he plays at Parma now. I think he moved over the summer, I want to say. But he's that young keeper. Obviously, I don't watch a lot of Parma, so unless it's some chicken parma on my plate, you know what I'm saying? But I haven't really followed him since we've been linked. Again, it's just one of those things where we moved on. But Graham Bailey claims that we're still keeping an eye on him. He is still a target for us. So I think he's probably a little too young to start. And again, if we're looking at a keeper that young, why not just stick with Vitek? Why not just stick with Harrison, especially if they're going to be a backup? But I don't have a problem with young keepers, but I don't know if Suzuki is someone you're going to put the whole bank on when it comes to making a difference in the league and whatnot. So if anybody does watch Parma, let me know what you think. But sticking with keepers, so this next one's coming from Gazzetta dello Sport. They claim that United have made contact with Brighton regarding Verbruggen. I liked Verbruggen when he was still playing in Belgium. He has had a little bit of a slow start to his Premier League career since he joined Brighton. He's doing better this season than he did last season. Remember, he and Steele were kind of alternating a little bit. But he is a keeper, Verbruggen, that has no problem coming off his line. A little bit of a sweeper at times, but more of just he's not afraid to come off his line, which is something you guys know I like. So I think, though, unless we're looking to sell Onana, this one doesn't have any legs. Because, again, it's like the Suzuki situation. He's not going to come and be a backup. And I think there are better options out there than Verbruggen that wouldn't cost a lot. You guys know that in my summer rebuild video, I talked about Jean Garcia has a release clause. Like, it's not expensive, so it is what it is. Danny says, was looking at keepers recently. The Nice keeper looks good. Yeah, Bulka. Yeah, I like Bulka a lot. Polish, I think I want to say, if I remember, either Polish or Austrian. I can't remember. Yeah, Marcin Bulka, he's pretty good. With some experience, Danny says, but Vitek probably just as good. Yeah, Vitek. I think Linz lost their cup game the other day, but Danny says there's a mistake in Verbruggen. Yeah, he still looks a little shaky. He's still super young, though, but that's sometimes you're going to take the risk. We all remember when we signed De Gea when he was like 2021. I mean, shaky. He got that nickname early on for a reason, and he grew into it. Now, De Gea was never the keeper. He was always kind of a skinny guy. He was never the guy who was going to be super commanding of his area, but at his prime, best shot stopper in Europe, like hands down. But it is what it is. I know there's a lot of people trying to rewrite history, the revisionism is strong right now with De Gea. So just because Onana's shit doesn't mean that De Gea would have been any better. And we all know the reason why Ten Hag opted for Onana. Like, people will sit here and tell you, it's because he can pass the ball. It's not because he can pass the ball. The reason Ten Hag wanted Onana is because of the way Ten Hag played, slow build out from the back, keeper basically acts as another kind of outfield player in that regard in terms of starting that first phase of attack. Onana is very comfortable on the ball for all his flaws. He is very comfortable on the ball. De Gea is not. So that's why we got him. But I don't care anymore about that. I really don't. If anything, Verbruggen's going to cost 50 plus. That's a high price tag for Verbruggen. I don't think he's that good. But oh, you mean Boca? Yeah, Boca's very good. I still like Chevalier a lot. Still like Joan Garcia. Those guys are very, very good as well. So let's move on to this match. Hit that like button for me, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's get stuck in. So starting with the team selection. So I don't know. I know you asked ahead of the match, Danny, when I put out that short. I don't know for sure, but that could have been the first time we saw Amorim stick with the same starting 11 2 games in a row. I didn't do the research, so if someone else knows that, check my math on that one. But to be honest, it's probably about the strongest 11 we could put out at the moment, given our injuries and whatnot. Obviously, like no Ahmad, no Licha, things like that. It is what it is. The bench, though, was where the real excitement was for me. It's too bad we didn't get to see any youngsters. Again, we just never seem to put ourselves in situations where we can take that risk. And I'm not saying I wouldn't take the risk, but I can understand maybe why Amorim isn't taking as big a risk with some of these youngsters, because we're just never in a situation where we're up by so many goals. You could argue maybe Sociedad in that second leg, but he just doesn't really seem too eager to do that. And so maybe there's a dead rubber towards the end of the season. I could see it happening, but I did share my thoughts on that short ahead of the kickoff yesterday. So obviously youngsters galore on the bench: Morehouse, Kamasan, Kukonki, Amas, and then Menu back on the bench as well. So exciting little bench going on. As far as the performance, honestly, it just wasn't clicking a whole lot. There was energy, there was fight, but it seemed like just a game of just back and forth for counterattacks. The midfield energy, that link up that we saw against City, just wasn't there. It was a game of counterattack versus counterattack. The real test just seemed to be who could get their defenders back in numbers in time before the other team got too far into their own half. I thought we were a little better than Lyon when it came to that. We were sitting in a back five pretty frequently, but we just weren't able to quite capitalize on the attack because, again, we were just a little too slow. There was no urgency to kind of get the ball out, no urgency to kind of get it forward. I saw Dallo a lot of times stopping on the ball and passing backwards. Dorgu struggled to beat a man 1v1, so it was just hard to get the ball into the opposition half a lot. Excuse me. But again, it's just what that meant is that we had a lot of defenders to get through, a lot of bodies, a lot of white shirts to get through to try to get those shots. That's why we didn't have as many touches in their area. Lyon had to make 26 clearances. We only had to make 11 because they just got numbers back and we just were moving the ball way too slow. But other than that, if you look at some of the numbers, it was pretty even, pretty neck and neck. I think we were better. I think our aerial duels were much better and their ground 1v1s were better. So you could see the difference, and I think that's almost prototypical for these European sides versus like English sides. They're very technically adept, keep it on the ground, move it pretty well, and we are just kind of like, let's get ahead on it, basically. Gotta get some water there. What are you guys saying here? Danny says, the game was crying out for Morehouse. Would have hooked Garnacho after 75 minutes. Yeah, I was saying in the first half. So I watched it at a pub nearby with Dylan. Dylan says hi. And, I was saying Garnacho probably needs to come off. I could see Garnacho coming off for Mount early on, Hoyland coming off for Xerxes, things like that. It just something wasn't quite clicking here. Darko says, what's the purpose of playing Ugarte and Casemiro together? I mean, we've seen the purpose in recent weeks. Ugarte is basically there to do all the running for Casemiro, and Casemiro, I mean, we saw what he did against City. I mean, he was immense against City. Casemiro did not have his great game. He was kind of getting caught a little out of position too frequently. But you know that Casemiro can play really well. I think that that front three of Lyon was just causing a lot of problems, unfortunately. And Casemiro was out of position far too frequently, in my opinion. Danny says that 3-on-2 that Garnacho messed up was horrible. The 18-3 score 3. Yeah. He was just not. I saw him like freaking out when at Bruno, like Garnacho played a bad ball to Bruno. He just played it too late. Again, it's just the decision making. Played it too late. It didn't come off. Bruno couldn't get to it, and it's like Garnacho's over there throwing his hands up in the air like we've seen Rashford do time and time again. And it's like, bro, it's your fault. You should have played that ball like 3 touches earlier in and around the side. You're giving yourself no room to work with. We got to play those balls much, much earlier. But individually, it just wasn't great. It wasn't like bad. It's just some of the performances we've seen recently just didn't show up last night. Maybe it's travel. I don't know. But like Dallo just didn't look like super confident going forward. Dogu didn't look capable getting forward. His crosses were better, Dogu, so fair play. 2 out of 2, I think. Højlund fluffed his only chance. He's just not getting involved enough. There's another instance where he got muscled off it too easily in the box and lost possession. Like, yeah, I told you guys. I mean, we said it earlier. I'm getting a little annoyed with Højlund. I'm starting to cool on that kid a lot. Ugarte did have a little bit of an off night. And I do think Ugarte in recent weeks has just not been at his best. He seems just a little slow to everything. Now, we know he was coming back from something. Maybe he's still not quite there. I don't know. But he just looks a little just tired. Maybe just accumulation of matches. I don't know. Casemiro, again, out of position a little too much. Aside from a nice little drop of the shoulder to create some space, Mizraoui, I thought wasn't like spectacular. Again, and Mizraoui did the same thing that I've gotten frustrated with him now a couple times, trying to be too cute on the ball in his own, like, in and around his own box. And instead of, there was a point where he should have just cleared it, but he tried to like Cruyff turn it and stuff, and he lost possession. And I'm like, just get rid of it, dude. What are you doing? I think we conceded a corner out of it. Like, and I know you're saying, Sean, what about Garnacho? What about Onana? We're getting to those guys. Don't worry. They have their own special little sections here. Bruno did Bruno things. Kobbie Mainoo came on in the second half. I thought Kobbie was actually very, very good. He was carrying the ball, really good in possession, making things happen. That new haircut, man. It was like red-haired Rashford. Remember red-haired Rashford? He was immense. Mount came on as a sub as well. Wasn't able to quite look as good as he did against City, I thought. Thought Maguire was solid. Check the numbers if you disagree. He quietly had a fine game. He doesn't tend to do well against the tricky kind of quick attackers who like to kind of work in those channels. He doesn't do well when there's a lot of movement in and around. Like, that's fine. We just didn't have a choice. We too many injuries. So, but I don't see like Lindelof isn't as good in those situations either. So it's just the lesser of two evils at this point. Xerxes came on, did very, very well. He fought for everything. He was getting involved. Ball stuck to him like glue, as it does usually. And then he got that great goal. Good header. Really, you can argue that their keeper should have stopped that because it was right at him. But I'm not going to take anything away because he did what he needed to do. It's hard to pin down Xerxes' position in this system. Playing as the number 10 seems to suit him very much. I think he does a lot better when he's got a little bit of space to work with, and one of the 10s just affords him that. If he can find some consistency, like it's for me, the problem with Xerxes is it's just too up and down. So if he could find some consistency, I think he could really do a job and can have a role in this side, as whether that's a squad player or what. But it's that inconsistency, though, that keeps me from saying things like start him over Højlund and this and that. Like, I just don't. He's not a 9, and it's too up and down. I mean, granted, Højlund's just been down the whole season, but again, that's the problem with the squad in general. Which just there's a few players who you can rely on, and a few players who are pretty much dragging us to the finish line, and it's just no one else is stepping up. And then we'll talk about Euro in a little bit. So let me get caught up with you guys. Danny says, would you sell Garnacho now? Well, keep that in the chamber. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Danny says Cass was poor. Yeah, he just didn't have as good a game. And it was a game we really needed everybody to kind of continue that momentum from the derby, because I thought Cass did really well. Yeah, and Ugarte is not looked at his best. He's just not. He just looks like a step behind everything. He's giving away niggly fouls. He made a couple bad passes yesterday that just went to nobody. He had a couple of bright sparks, but he just below his standards, I would say, would be how I would describe Ugarte yesterday. But all right, so let me dive into my thoughts here. Starting with number 1. You guys saw this coming. Oh na na, oh na na. Hey, 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 goodbye. Yeah, time to go, bro. I'm done with this guy. Like, I am absolutely done with Onana. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Capital DONE, done. I couldn't give a Frenchman's fornication how supposedly decent you are on the ball. Give me a keeper who can stop shots and show a single iota of confidence and control of his box any day of the week over someone who is good on the ball. I don't care. Onana's just shit. He's a bundle of nerves more often than not in those high pressure situations. And you can't have that complete absence of confidence and composure from your keeper. You just can't do it. Literally at fault for both goals we conceded last night. I don't care if, like, fight me. It's just the way it is. For the first, the ball shouldn't have bounced all the way into the net without anybody getting to it. But his typical lack of just assertiveness and awareness and just confidence, glued to his line for that situation. It sees him just flailing about when the ball gets to him, like the inflatable dudes at a used car lot. The ball just bounces right into the net like it's a freaking little ball on a sing-along video. Just do, do, do. And I'm like, how? How does that get all the way in there from 10 yards outside the 18? There's no excuse for that. A competent and confident keeper takes care of that situation. And a squad that's confident in defending set pieces would have cleared it as well. It was just so bad. And take nothing away from Almada's delivery because it was superb, but still, like, it's ridiculous. And the pre-match back and forth, like the whole him like throwing shade at Lyon ahead of it. Again, I don't think it was as serious, but the whole back and forth and the whole drama, all that shit ahead of it made it look just 100 times worse. Like, if you're going to chat shit, back it up, man. And it's like, he's the last person that should ever be chatting shit to anybody because he's the last person who can do anything about it. So annoying, man. RSV, big up, man. Good to see you. He says Onana is worse than Karius, Bravo, Sanchez, Taibi. He's the biggest bozo goalkeeper in football history. He's not good. Dylan sent me this photo. I think I saw it online. It was like this little toy Onana that came in, like, but it had like gloves with holes in it as an accessory. It had like contact lenses. It had something else in there, but it was this little Onana action figure. And I'm like, if you buy, maybe they have a Karius one, you can start a collection because it was absolute shit. RSV says, not a single team in modern era has ever won a major honor with an inexperienced striker up top. Wayne Rooney was obviously a generational talent when we signed him. Yeah, I know, and I've said that about Højlund too. He's still young. He shouldn't be shouldering that responsibility. Like, he shouldn't be wearing the number 9 shirt, quite frankly. He should be wearing like a 19 or something. There should be an older, experienced striker. Because if we sign an experienced striker, Højlund's losing that number 9 shirt. Or the striker is getting the number 10 shirt from Rashford, but like, he shouldn't be doing that. But it is what it is. But then moving on from that first goal to their late equalizer in stoppage time, like, for fuck's sake, Onana, stop palming shots back into the box. I have lost count now of how many goals we've conceded because Onana cannot hold on to the ball. He can't palm it off to the side, like literally day one of goalkeeping school tells you to do. Like, I'd be so livid if I were one of his teammates. I would just be staring daggers at this guy in the dressing room. I would just, I can't even, I have no words for how mad I am at Onana right now. At the end of the day, Onana has cost us too many points, too many games, and too many headaches, quite frankly. I've gone through so much aspirin watching this idiot stick try to sit here and play week in, week out, and constantly lying on the ground, shaking his head, looking like a deer in headlights anytime the ball gets within 20 yards of his freaking goal. I'm so frustrated, man. He's just not good enough. He's so bad at stop shopping. He's so bad at making saves. Onana is literally the only person in the world who couldn't save 15% or more on his car insurance by switching to Geico. Like, facts. He walks in and that little ass gecko season is like, no, mate. You got no chance. Piss off. And like, call him like I see him. That's just how I feel. Like, this is the truth. You may say Nemanja Matic was a bit of a savage with his pre-match dig, but he wasn't wrong. Like, and I'm not trying to insult. It's not an insult to say Onana is not good at shot stopping. He's a net negative, though, in this squad. And unless he's replaced, he will be the anchor that keeps Ruben Amorim and the rest of this squad from moving forward. He will be an anchor that just holds us in place because you can't be confident with him in goal. You just can't. Any situation, I have no confidence that he's going to do anything worthwhile. He'll make a brilliant save here and there, but again, this is what the phrase net negative. The detriments to his game, the negatives they bring far outweigh any positives that he does every now and then. So there's a reason I replaced him in my summer rebuild. I had a lot of money to work with still because I did such a good job at saving money. There's a reason I threw out Joan Garcia in there because he's just not good enough. Go check out the rebuild stream if you haven't yet, but start buying here against Newcastle, please. I'm done with this kid. You guys let me know your thoughts on Onana. I'm going to move on to number 2. Euro's on fire. We were all excited when we signed Eleni Euro. We swooped in and just stole him right out from under the noses of Real Madrid. It looked dead cert that he was going to Real Madrid. It seemed like he had Real Madrid written all over him. Young, French, basically Varane 2.0, right? But we feared the worst, though, when he picked up an injury in preseason that saw him miss the first couple months of the season. Did not look good. Fast forward, though, to a fit and firing Lenny Yoro, and he is showing us why Ineos pushed so hard to beat out the competition and bring him to Manchester United. The kid is just so good. He's composed. He's clinical. He's got pace. He's getting better in those situations where he's got to do these 1v1s. He needs to get a little bigger, I think, but that's okay. And again, he can do more to handle some of these long balls over the top in the channels, but that comes with experience, like I've said several times. But he's made some excellent, like match-saving last man tackles to deny some pretty tough competition in the recent weeks. Like against Liverpool, against City, I mean, he's just done such a good job. And in recent weeks, it just feels like Lenny Euro is getting better. He had 94% pass accuracy last night, 5 passes into the final third. He won all of his tackles. He got interceptions, blocks, all of it. He was just doing everything. Oh, and just a small matter of a brilliantly headed goal to make it 1-1 going into halftime, making him also the youngest United defender to score in Europe ever. So brilliant game from Euro. He just keeps going higher and higher. And it's a perfect example. Like, yes, he's young. He's not been doing it right. But when there are young players who are just so naturally gifted in so many areas that trajectory just keeps going up steadily. It doesn't go like this too often like you'd expect for young players. You have got some young players who stay kind of flat with up and downs, some who go up, who still have ups and downs, some who just keep going up, and then you've got some that go down. But Euro is just showing us exactly why we bought him. It's just a shame that he's just in a shit team right now. I read that too, that Euro had more shots against Lyon last night than any of his teammates. Like, that's embarrassing. And again, it's a sad indictment. Remember when Licha was the one scoring the goals before he got injured? Now we've got Euro and like Bruno does it. And these are the 3 that we're relying on basically because no one else can do anything. Freaking annoying. Amorim was asked about Lenny after the match. The reporter said, "Ruben, I just want to ask about Euro's performance because he took a lot of responsibility on and off the ball." Ruben said, "Yeah, it's really good. He's really confident. I think he's improving. The physicality was something that he struggled with, but he didn't have preseason, so we had to maintain Lenny sometimes with a bit problems, and we start again. So we're seeing all the work that the staff is doing with Lenny. He feels at home at Carrington and our club, so you can see that he's a top player." Again, people forget the guy didn't really have a preseason, so he's kind of coming in cold, and he's still just making it look easy so many times. Like, none of the mistakes that Lenny Euro makes are mistakes I wouldn't expect a teenage center back to make, if that makes sense. And they're not necessarily mistakes. It's like when I defend Højlund for some of his lack of movement in the box, that kind of understanding of where to be, when to slow down, when to speed up, that comes with experience. You're not just born with that knowledge unless you were created in the lab like Erling Haaland. Like, that kind of stuff I don't go too hard. I'll criticize it and say, like, yeah, he could have done this there, but I'm not going to go too hard on youngsters for that kind of stuff. It's the fluff chance that Højlund had that I go in on. But I'd love it if Euro was here for the next decade, a la Rio Ferdinand. I would love it if he's probably still going to end up going to Madrid at some point someday. But if we could keep him here for the next decade, I think that would be such good business on our part. Danny says Amorim has to drop Onana. Like, oh no. So moving on to number 3. It's gonna sound a little harsh. It's not meant to be harsh, but it's gonna sound harsh. Garnacho may need to go, to answer your question, Danny. So let me preface this by saying I'm not blaming Garnacho for anything that happened in the match yesterday. I'm not pointing fingers at him. I'm not saying this is like Garnacho doing this as a reason why we didn't win. Like, if anybody's going to catch that, it's going to be Onana. But my point here is that this was yet another match where all the worst parts of Garnacho's game, all his limitations, all the things that he's not developing, all of that lack of progress and development, all that was on show yesterday. He did have good pass accuracy, but when you're only making 13 passes, that's not hard to do. But 1 out of 4 crosses, not great. Dispossessed 4 times, 3 out of 8 duels. And again, if you watch some of the situations, like one you guys mentioned earlier, like he's not getting his head up, he's not reading the situation. Again, that's the stuff that is really struggling to show any sort of development, is this the reading of the game, the footballing intelligence, just decision making, the same stuff that Rashford never improved upon it. We're seeing it in Garnacho. Now, the kid's been playing first team football for United for nearly 3 seasons now. I think people forget that too because he is young, but he's been here 3 seasons now. Similar trajectory as Rashford right now. We started young, couple of managerial changes, which could have hindered his development. But again, the fact of the matter is that it's hindering his development. His development is not progressing. He just kind of looks clueless. He kind of sticks out like a sore thumb when he has these matches. It might be wise now to listen to offers for him this summer. Anything over 50 million, for instance, shouldn't be dismissed out of hand. If Napoli want to come back with 50 million, it's time to open that discussion and start a little higher and work our way to the middle. If somebody else wants to come in and talk to him, I read that Chelsea were interesting. I think that David Ornstein mentioned that Chelsea were looking at him. I think Chelsea, they have to replace Modric, and I think like Gittins was another name I saw linked with Chelsea too. So I think that's Liam Delap. If Liam Delap comes in, for instance, he will be better in that Garnacho, that number 10 role than Garnacho is. I think he offers more. I think he's shown that he's a little better than Garnacho there. And I think that Delap particularly would cost 30 mil. So if you sell Garnacho, buy Delap for 30 million or less, you're making money on the deal. Cunha, another option that I think would be just fine there. So it's really frustrating. Again, he sticks out like a sore thumb. He's not getting better. He's been doing this now for 3 years. I have to have seen something. He'll score a great goal now and then, but you can't just bank on that, because when the goals dry out, what else do you offer? Like, you're not the striker. That's not your job. Like, and I get it's great when you can score, but you have to do other things as well. And those other things, just I'm not seeing any of it. So for those of you who think, though, I'm being too harsh on Garnacho and not hard enough on Højlund, Højlund, like I said, he's running out of time. I keep that same energy. Like I said, though, Garnacho's just been here longer, and he's got, to me, a lot more to prove. Højlund's not out here on social media causing issues. Højlund's not out here getting dropped because of off-pitch behavior. Garnacho's the one who's got a little bit more to prove, in my opinion, in a lot of different areas. And so I'm going to be a little harsher on him. That's just the way I am. So not saying I'm right, not saying I'm wrong. I'm saying this is what I feel, and this is why I feel this way. So you guys let me know. Let me check the poll, see what you guys are saying right now in this chat. Why is YouTube doing this? So strange. So I put out a chat. We've talked a little bit about strikers. We've talked a little bit about keepers. We've talked a little bit about that number 10 role. I put out that poll to start. Which position would you guys prioritize this summer? Right now, it is split between striker and keeper, both ends of the pitch. That's insane. And only 11% are going with one of those number 10 roles. So striker and keeper, what you guys are going to prioritize this summer. I'm going to end the poll there. I'm going to start another one real quick before I let me move this out of the way real quick. Would you sell Garnacho this summer? All right, I'll put that out there since Danny B put that question in the chat. Like I said, I wouldn't go into the summer like it's Rashford or Antony looking to sell, right? But again, if a club comes in and they're like, we have this, we want Garnacho, we're going to put down 50 million. I don't think you dismiss that out of hand. I think that's enough to sit down at the table and start a discussion, because I do think you can get more out of it. If you got players out here, like some of these randos moving from like Villa to Newcastle or Leicester, whatever, who are going for crazy, like I forget who who's that dude? Smith Rowe. I forget how much he went to Fulham for, but if that dude's going for so much, Garnacho is a Puskas winner. Whether you want to like defend that or not, he's a Puskas winner, so he does get a little bit more. Danny says, regardless if he stays or go, Garnacho cannot be first choice. And again, that's another thing, and I've said this too. Because, and I know it sounds harsh on Garnacho, but again, that is a good reminder because similar to Højlund, he shouldn't be starting week in, week out. Like he just shouldn't. Højlund shouldn't be starting week in, week out. He just shouldn't. That's just the way it is. We just don't have depth. Now, some of that is on the club for letting go of Sancho, Rashford, and Antony within the span of 6 months and not replacing them at all. But it is what it is. Those are the kind of decisions that they probably knew going into it. So again, that's not on Garnacho, but he shouldn't be starting week in, week out. But it is what it is. I have to see from Garnacho a willingness to kind of take that on. He's got to be teachable. He's got to be coachable. And from what I see on the pitch, it doesn't look like there are moments where it looks like he's trying to find his teammates and get his head up, but then I'm just not seeing them enough. It looks like he's only doing it because he's being told to. It's kind of like when Onana came flying off his line against Ipswich. Like someone told you to get off your line more and you went the complete opposite end of the spectrum of what you've been doing. Like that to me it shows me you don't really either that's bad coaching or you just don't really understand what's being asked of you and you're too afraid to maybe speak up or something. So we'll see. I put another poll out there. You guys let me know what you think about that. So far, 100% say sell him. At the end of the day, we're still unbeaten in Europe, but we should have seen that out at least a 2-1 win, if not 2-0, because those goals were very preventable. And I'm not just saying 2-1 because that's what I predicted. We have to learn how to see out a win when there's like 7 or 8 minutes left to play. We've been bad at that for years. It's not just a one-off thing. We could easily, we put pressure on Lyon in those final moments. You could tell we were kind of secure the win by getting another goal, but we right now we just don't ever look like scoring. And so I'm like, if that's your plan to try to get another goal from a side that doesn't really score a lot of goals, to me, I'm like, that's almost a pipe dream in some ways. I'd like us to just be a little smarter on the ball in these moments, make the smart pass, take care of the ball, kill a little time, make it boring. The perfect example of that was like a corner we had a long time ago, first half of the season, where it was in the dying minutes, we had a lead. And Bruno, the old Bruno, would have put that in the box to try to go for it. But instead, he passed it all the way back to Onana. We killed some more time. It's killed another minute or so off the clock. I don't mind that now and then. But it's still, when that goal went in, that late equalizer went in, it just deflated me in so many ways. Amorim even said after the match that the dressing room was quiet after the final whistle left. I imagine everybody's probably thinking the same thing and no one wanted to say it. Like everyone's just sitting there like, for fuck's sake, Andre, what are you doing? But you never know. We drew in the first leg against Real Sociedad, and then we ended up choosing violence in the second leg to beat them 4-1 to get to where we are now in this. So that, the glass half full side of me wants to think we might have a chance to put this away at home next week. It's probably the best situation we could ask for in terms of just having the Old Trafford crowd behind us. We'll see. The other quarterfinal matches went on yesterday. I don't know if you guys watched any of those. Lazio lost 2-0 to Bodo Glimt, which quite frankly made this round much more interesting in my opinion. Lazio were a lot of people's favorites. I think they were the bookies' favorites or thereabouts from the start of the season. After that group stage, weren't they like on top? But yeah, losing 2-0, not a good look. So it helps the chances, but we'll see. The other two matches ended in draws as well. Spurs drew 1-1 with Frankfurt. Rangers and Bilbao ended 0-0 with a red card. Rangers went down to 10 men like 13 minutes in. Robin Proper was given a straight red. I don't know if that means if he misses the next round, if Rangers go through. Can someone tell me if they do or not? I don't know how it works now with the new formats and whatnot. If you get because like back in the 90s, like Scholesy got sent off in the semi and then missed the final. Same with Kino. So I don't know if it's still the same. So someone let me know if Proper misses the next round, like if Rangers, because we'll play Rangers if they go through. It's either Rangers or Bilbao for us. So if they go through and he's gone, is that a thing? So I've seen people crying conspiracy because of that red card, people are claiming that UEFA want Bilbao to get to the final because it's at their stadium, but we'll see. It's on to Newcastle this weekend. The Academy plays this afternoon as well, if you guys can find that anywhere. I don't know if it's on YouTube. Like, it's at Reading, so there's a chance it could be on MUTV. If not, maybe check around some of Reading's social media or their YouTube channel or even their website. They might stream it too, but we will see what happens. But the Academy does play later on today. Danny says, the backwards passing really pissed me off. We got into great positions. The progressive passes were there, but players didn't have the balls to play them. Just passed it backwards and played it safe. And I don't have a problem with that in context. Last 7-8 minutes when you're up by a goal, I don't have a problem with that. Kill the clock. It was happening in the first half. Like, that's why I said, like, Dallo he kind of regressed a little bit because the confidence in the 1v1s he's shown in recent weeks, it just regressed back to the way we saw before the international break. He'd get the ball, get near his half, and then he'd just stop. And it's just, that's what caused us to have to go through so many white shirts. That's what enabled Lyon to have 26 clearances, and we only had 11 because we were too slow. We kept making these little backward passes, and it allowed them just to get back into numbers. And it's just, we don't have the players who can unlock those kind of compact defenses. Bruno maybe, but Bruno can't do everything. We need some players who can do that. Some more movement, some more creativity. We need a Cherki. We need a Nippon. We need a striker who, when you put that ball on a plate to him like Dorgu did, he's just going to bury it. Like, no questions asked. Højlund, like, I know his right foot's not his strongest, but we've seen him score with his right. He should have let that ball cross over his body, and then he would have had the whole face of goal to put that anywhere. He could have put that anywhere he wanted, but he tried to get to it. It was on a bobble. He tried to get to it with his left, and he didn't get great contact on it. And it's just, it is what it is. But that's going to do it for me. Keep a lookout for the Newcastle preview. Let me see what you guys are saying in here. So it's split right now. Would you sell Garnacho this summer? To me, it's got to be a decent offer, but we'll see how it goes. But hit that like button for me. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. We will be back probably tomorrow to preview the Newcastle match, which honestly I'm not looking forward to because I just don't see it going well for us at all. But thank you guys for stopping by, and I will see you guys on the next one. Enjoy your Friday. Later.